Hi everyone, this is Brooke Skidmore with Awaken Arise, and today is Monday, May 18th, and I wanted to start today with a question. The question is, what was the last thing that you said to yourself today when you were looking in the mirror? And if you can remember previous days, what are some of the most common things you say to yourself when you look in the mirror? And I'll be honest and open. A lot of times the last thing I say to myself in the mirror is, oh well, or I say something like, well, that'll have to be good enough for today, or I'll try again tomorrow. So I'm a lot like a lot of people who are noticing just physical things in the mirror, and mostly negative things, not always the most positive things that we're saying to ourselves in the mirror. And why does that matter? Why does it matter what we say to ourselves about how we look or how we appear? And does it matter? I have a lot of personal training clients who come to me, and the reason that they're coming to me is mostly based on wanting to change physical things about their body. Wanting to lose weight, this number of pounds, or wanting to make this smaller or this bigger. And I always try to listen to my clients and honor their desires and requests. And I also like to highlight some of the additional benefits of the exercises that they're doing. And one reason that that's important is that we know the benefits of exercise. At this point, we can Google it and find thousands and hundreds of thousands of reasons why we should exercise. We know that it's good for our mental health. We know that it's good to prevent and reduce the risk of chronic diseases. We know that it's good for our physical health, our strength, the strength of our bones, our lungs, our muscles. And so why is it important then, what I'm telling myself about the appearance of my body? Well, if over time I'm exercising maybe for a few weeks and I'm not noticing major changes in the mirror, oftentimes a person might just give up their exercise routine. Well, I'm not losing the weight, or I'm not seeing any changes, so what's the point? And if I give up on my exercise routine, then what are the implications for the rest of my health? We know that if we just give it up altogether, there are going to be other negative effects on our health. And so the way we describe exercise and our appearance and our body image is important in terms of maintaining long-term health habits and exercise habits. So how would you describe your body? If someone asked you to just describe your body, what would you say? What words would you use to describe it? Oftentimes people will describe what their body looks like, especially women. I'm sorry, but we're the worst at this. A lot of women will describe their bodies physically as fat or curvy or slender or tall or short. And oftentimes we don't describe our body in terms of what it can do, or the things that we're capable of. So, for example, maybe I would describe my body as strong or powerful or free or giving even. So we might consider just the language that we're using to describe our bodies. I can think of a few examples of this in my past. I think a lot of times we make assumptions about a person and their health and their capabilities based on what they look like. I'm guilty of this too. I remember a few years ago I was in the gym lifting, and I saw an older woman. She had a beautiful head of white hair, and she must have been in her late 70s, probably early 80s. Older for that type of scenario in the lifting section of the gym. And I watched her at one point, and she bent over and picked up a 45-pound plate and racked it on whatever machine she was using, like it was just an everyday activity for her. And I remember watching her thinking, yep, that's exactly who I want to be. When I'm 80 years old, I want to be able to rack my own 45 plates. I was really impressed and grateful for her example to me of what someone could do even in an older stage of life. If you've ever been to a marathon or run a marathon, at the starting line, to be able to run 26.2 miles is a pretty incredible feat. And you might envision we'd only see these emaciated, skinny runners at the starting line. Those might be the type of body types who cross or who win the race, but you'll see body types of all shapes and sizes running a marathon and completing a marathon and doing it in really good time. The size of our body doesn't necessarily dictate our abilities. I also, years ago, had a couple friends who were Polynesian football players, and just based on their body size, their BMI by the doctor, just based on their height and their weight, on a chart might show that they were obese or even more morbidly obese. But these athletes could jump out of the gym. That's the way we described it. Their vertical was incredible. They were super powerful, super strong athletes. And what if they had bought into the definition of their body size or the limitations we place on that type of body, that they were slow or maybe unathletic? You know, what might have happened in terms of what they were able to accomplish. They were incredible athletes, and we could have made a wrong assumption just based on their BMI or their size. So why is all of this important? We know that there is research to support that just by exercising, we can improve our body image. We can improve the way we think about our bodies. And we've noticed that what I think is really interesting is that with exercise, our body image can improve regardless of any changes in body composition. So regardless of changes on the scale, regardless of body fat or lean body mass, we can still improve the way we feel about our bodies. So that's pretty impressive that we can feel better just by exercising. A lot of people start their exercise program because of physical reasons. I want to lose weight, I want to tone up. But most people who are long-term exercisers are that way because they focus more on how exercise makes them feel. Maybe it's a stress relief. Maybe it's a way to feel accomplished or confident. For a lot of people who exercise throughout their lives, they're focusing less on the way exercise makes them look or how they appear after exercise and more on how it makes them feel. So we might focus on that, especially maybe this week. Maybe that's what we focus on, is not so much what I look like, but maybe how exercise makes me feel. What kind of exercise is associated with a better body image? We've seen associations with both aerobic and strength training. More research is needed, but we know that there's research to support both. So if there's one you like more than the other, or you might try a combination of both to improve the way you feel about your body. And I just want to close with the thought that there's over 7 billion people in this world, and for some reason, sorry women, but we are the worst at this, and actually men, you too, are subject to the this assumption that every male body needs to look a certain way. But with that many people in the world, billions of people, why do we assume that we all need to look the same way? Why do we assume that there's one figure that's the ideal woman figure or the ideal masculine figure? Health comes in all shapes and sizes. And I think that's important to remember that there's not just one. In the media, we'll see a couple images that we assume that's the way I'm supposed to look, but we know that's not true, that there's not just one type of body, there's not just one body type for every man, for every woman, and every gender in between. So this week, maybe we make a goal that every time you pass by a mirror, that you're only allowed to say something positive to yourself. If that's too hard for a week, maybe try it for a day, maybe try it for a morning, but try that out. See, maybe take more notice of what you're saying to yourself in the mirror, and maybe tell a different story, a better story about more what your body can do as opposed to just what it looks like. So let's all try that this week. Thanks, everyone.